What is up, Instagram? What is up, YouTube? Hope you guys are having a great day. And we're live on a Monday night. So presumably at this point in time, you guys know what's up. If you don't, if somehow this is your first time hanging out with me on a Monday night in my bathroom, well, one, I'll explain the bathroom. So the bathroom is because we're about to smoke some weed. Quick reminder, if you guys, again, have never checked me out on a Monday night before, essentially, I smoke weed, get high in my bathroom, answer your questions, so feel free to hit me up on Instagram or YouTube. We'll cover your Q&As. I think we might also have a few Project Mayhem people if they want to jump on live. I'm open to doing that. Also, no pressure though. If you guys don't want to, that's cool as well. And yeah, we'll just kind of chill out. You guys seen we got new Problems or Profit swag, so we got red and blue now in addition to the black. Hey, what's up, Troy? And yeah. Let's get into it. Again, reminder, quick little disclaimer. I never smoked weed until I was 25. You guys read your own medical studies or summaries, but it seems like once your brain's fully formed, this is probably one of the better vices out there for you. And yes, I get it. A lot of you preach eating edibles over smoking. That does seem like a smarter thing. I'm just kind of lazy and old school, I guess. So let's do it. What's going on in your world, guys? Let me know, hit me up in the questions. If there's any Project Mayhem people, feel free to hit me up and we can go live as well. See what's going on with YouTube. Hope you guys are having a good day as well. And yeah. Oh yeah, big news if you guys didn't know, we're moving. So you're only gonna have a couple more months at most of me smoking in this bathroom, and then we're gonna have to go find a whole new bathroom to smoke weed in. So if you guys know of any cool mansions on the west side of Toronto, that's ideally where I'd like to move towards. But we'll figure it out. But yeah, looking for something interesting, something kind of unique. So if you guys know of anything, ideally I'd like it to be within a 1 hour Uber drive of Toronto's Pearson Airport. Outside of that, we're pretty open and flexible. So you guys tell me, where should we be moving to? I am really excited to move though. If you guys didn't know, I've got a theory and a personal opinion in regards to moving. I personally think far too many people become static in their lives, and it really forces them, I think far too often people stay in one location or one ecosystem, and because of that, they don't fully develop. And what happens is once you're comfortable somewhere, your habits really start to calcify. And so for me, I personally think you should be moving like every 3 to 6 months ideally, even if it's something small, like literally switch bedrooms if you're gonna live in the same house, but that's still gonna be enough of a pattern to interrupt that's gonna really force you to just kind of question all your preconceived notions and habits. So for me, I love rearranging things. So my most recent move was just moving from my bedroom to sleeping in my walk-in closet. Again, I need something to force some pattern interrupts for me, because it's just too easy to get on that click, whirl, repeat kind of thought process. And I don't think that does anyone any good. So I see a few questions coming in here. In your transitioning stage from public accounting to real estate, how were you able to make the transition? It's a loaded question, thank you. Hey Tyler. It wasn't that loaded really for me. So I worked in public accounting, did the accountant thing for 5 years at BDO Dunwoody, then transitioned to a pharmaceutical company where I worked as their sole financial controller for a small publicly traded company here. We were on the pink sheet and the venture, and yeah, and did that for a handful of years as well. And then when I decided to quit, I just went cold turkey. So I gave my 2 weeks notice and never looked back on the corporate world. So for me, it was very black and white when I made the jump. What really gave me comfort in regards to quitting my day job and going all in on real estate investing was I just wrote down a list of pros and cons and worst case scenarios, and just made sure that I knew I could survive based upon those worst case scenarios. So this might sound funny to you guys now, but it really wasn't to me at the time. When I was thinking about quitting my job, I was like, man, like, just to give you guys perspective, I was doing pretty good at climbing the corporate ladder, for, at the time I was like 30, 31 years old. I had a pretty good job, pretty good compensation package, especially considering the city and market I lived in. And I remember I wrote out this giant list of like, what happens if I quit my job and I can't get another one that's relatively low with a CPA skill set, but I wrote down things like, in the summer, I can camp in my backyard and Airbnb my apartment. I was literally going that deep into the worst case scenarios just to figure it out, and I was like, yeah, you know what, there's a lot of different options and opportunities for me. And so one thing that, actually, maybe I'll share it here right now that I haven't shared with anyone else outside of like my close network and team members. If you guys didn't know, I'm in the process of transitioning right now. This house has been sold, so that's kind of fun and exciting. So we're going to be moving. But two, even before it sold, I was already starting to think about how I wanted to declutter my life and declutter my major possessions. And I'm not talking about like getting rid of furniture or clothing or things of that nature. I was literally thinking about like, what if I just sold everything? What if I just sold all my real estate? What if I just sold everything that I own personally and just had kind of a fresh start? And immediately I just became intoxicated by that idea. I was like, okay, this is probably a good idea. And then again, I was like, oh man, like if I sell all my real estate, like I'll keep my one entity that owns apartment buildings, but if I sold all the real estate that I own personally and in my other corporations, I was like, oh man, like it'd be kind of an identity crisis. Like, am I still the real estate guy if I do that stuff? Sure, we'll keep buying apartment buildings, but like some people will chirp me and all these different things. And I was like, you know what? This is the exact same fear I had when I quit my day job. I was like, oh man, like I'm the CPA, I'm the white collar kid that's climbing the corporate ladder faster than most people. I don't want to walk away from that identity. And then I had to really challenge myself. Was that identity actually important to me, or was it just important to the people I perceive, like the people around me? And it turns out it wasn't really that important to Matt McKeever to be the CPA. I had a weird notification pop up there. I was like, I don't know if it's that important to me to continue to be the white collar CPA kid. So that's what gave me the comfort to leap into firepreneurship or, quitting the rat race, going all in on real estate. And I can't help but feel at a similar crossroads now, where while I still think real estate investing is a great investment strategy and I believe in it wholeheartedly and the fundamentals behind it, I can't help but think that because of the different businesses that are available to me now and the different opportunities, that I wouldn't be better focusing on really growing my social media brand, growing my media team, growing my wholesaling business, growing Cashflow Tribe, and there's actually a whole bunch of other businesses I own too. So one of the things that I needed to really challenge myself on was does owning a bunch of duplexes really move the needle for Matt McKeever? And you know what? Outside of my ego, I don't think it does. So, this year I'm going to be slowly transitioning and probably selling off a lot of the real estate that I've owned for the last 10 years. That doesn't mean I'm not going to buy different real estate. I can go to mainly start buying more apartment buildings and things of that nature. We'll have some YouTube videos coming out in the near future with myself and Jeff Weibel. If you guys didn't know, we've got a business that buys apartment buildings and kind of BRRRRs them. Similar to kind of this type of buildings Casey Wong does. So right now we've got 37 units that we own in that one corporation that I'll keep. And we'll hopefully be closing on approximately another 30 units next week, I guess. So going to be like an interesting year of changes. Not that 2020 wasn't already kind of an interesting year because of COVID-19, killer bees, and all the other crazy shit that's going on across the world and society. But for me, I think I'm really going to try and use it as an opportunity to challenge a lot of the preconceived notions about who I am and what I am. Here's a controversial thing I've been thinking about as well that I'll share with you guys on social media live. Think about shaving. And what if I just went plain faced, clean shaved again? Currently a thought process. Because again, I kind of feel like this beard is part of my identity now. And in a way, I like it, I love it. But at the same time, I really like tearing down my own sacred cows, if that makes sense. And two of the sacred cows right now for my personal identity feels like this beard and my real estate portfolio. And so I'd be lying if I didn't say that in a way I wanted to tilt at that windmill, slay that dragon, and really challenge myself about whether that's actually important to Matt McKeever's identity or whether that's just like a limiting belief I have. Spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure it's a limiting belief I have. But yeah, it's kind of my thought process. So see a bunch of stuff going on here in the YouTube comments. Hey, what's up, Tim? Tim saying he votes for shave. Shave or look like ZZ Top. Gotta love real estate, building an empire. Not to mention the liberals have made real estate less exciting. Definitely regulation never makes it more exciting to get into a business niche. Brother, I offloaded one house and been living off the profit for 3 years now. It's been a great 3 years. I will get back at it in a year for 2. Yeah, so definitely lots of opportunities there. And really excited for the rest of 2020. I think the move couldn't come at a better time. So again, really excited that we're going to be moving because I'm such a creature of habits, and left to my own devices, I'll just fall into the same patterns, and there's just no value in repeating the pattern ad infinitum. Now, obviously, you need to put in a certain amount of consistent work if you want results, but becoming a slave or beholden to your existing patterns isn't good either. Would you use a private lender for a buy and hold for an investment property, tenants paying if you can't get a loan from the bank? Yeah, we never shy away from using private lending. The one thing I would caution is usually private lending comes with a more expensive cost of funds. So usually we're going to try and find a way to have that be a short-term bridge measure rather than, plan on paying private financing rates for 10 plus years. But again, if you can make the numbers work, that's all that really matters when it comes down to real estate or investing in general. What else going on here in the comments? Why not move to more passive real estate, be a passive partner in private loans? Yeah, so that's definitely an option maybe. And I'll definitely be doing some private lending. In a way, in my apartment building buying business, I am kind of a more passive partner in it. The other partners are more active. And it just makes sense because, we're all focused on different priorities, but all our different focuses still are net benefits to the overall empire building. So 100%. Are you going to be buying in Toronto? If yes, are you still going to be looking for properties in the 1% rule? I will always be looking for properties to meet the 1% rule. Because I want the 1% rule, I probably won't be buying in Toronto. So we'll in fact be renting. And, we're putting some pretty fancy places on the vision board. So if you guys know of any high-end mansions, ideally in the $5,000 to $10,000 a month for rent range, that's what we're looking for. So hit up your boy if you've got some leads on some sweet pads. Looking for that Ty Lopez type lifestyle. So definitely something that's grandiose and over the top, but at the same time, we're still going to have sack it. That's, I don't know if I can get over that frugal nature. Plus, I love the ecosystem and culture we're creating here. So yeah, I think it's a better way of life. Should tenants be referred to as what? No, I'm not going to say that. What do you think about real estate in New Brunswick? Yeah, I think real estate can succeed in any market. I think it really comes down to the fundamentals, right, guys? So if you can't tell me, what the immigration trends are like, what the population trends are like, what the employment seems like, what the vacancy rates are like, then I would really challenge or question whether you're in a position to make sound investment decisions in that market. But if you're dialed in on the data, what's going on in the market that you want to invest in, whether it's New Brunswick, the Yukon, or Southwestern Ontario, I think that's what really matters. And then making sure that whatever market you're investing in, the strategies that work in that market fit within your overall goals as a real estate investor. So one of the big frustrations of mine that I have on a regular basis is people trying to ask me whether something's a good deal. And what we need to understand is there's no such thing as one blanket answer towards is something a good deal. In fact, it's very situational. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. It depends upon your goals. And that's a very personal thing. And so if you want me to pick your goals, I can tell you that I think most people are best served creating their financial fortress of solitude. What that means to me is get to that level of firepreneurship that myself and Mike Rosard have talked about in the past. And what that means is, figure out what's the bare minimum you need to survive, and then find a way to generate that passively or semi-passively. For a lot of us, especially in Canada, we live in one of the best countries in the world. People like to shit on our healthcare system, but it's actually pretty good, all things told. And realistically, $2,000 to $3,000 a month in passive income, especially if you're already house hacking and living for free, you can live a fantastic lifestyle, in my humble opinion. And so I would really encourage a lot of people that don't know where to start, focus on trying to build up your financial fortress of solitude by generating that $2,000 to $3,000 a month in passive income. I think rental real estate is one of the best approaches to doing so in a consistent manner. And I think, focusing on rules of thumb, like the 1% rule, will guide you towards great cash flowing rental properties. So I would certainly encourage everyone to consider house hacking or rent hacking at a minimum. And then secondly, really just focusing on, building up that passive income so you can meet your bare needs. Once your bare needs are met, you can still go out there and live a fancy lifestyle, but what happens is everything now becomes an active choice. And when it's your active choice, you're just in the driver's seat so much more than the average consumer, right? And how embarrassing is it that these days politicians will refer to their constituents as consumers versus, citizens? Is an umbrella insurance policy the best way to protect against liability if your real estate is not positioned within a corporation? Thoughts on this? Yeah, absolutely, Eric. So I would really encourage anyone that owns rental real estate personally to get an umbrella insurance policy. It's probably only going to cost you $600-800 a year, plus maybe another $50 a property to add on to it once you've got the original one set up. And we're able to get like a $2 million umbrella insurance policy. It's just your sleep at night factor. Again, one of the great things about Canada, we're not nearly as litigious. We're not nearly as sue happy as our American brethren to the south. So again, a $2 million umbrella insurance policy will cover you for pretty much everything but gross negligence, fraud, and the craziest of black swans. Hey, what's up, Quentin? Troy is saying, laugh my ass off. Last time I saw you with a shaved face, it was during a Monday meeting at William Street to symbolize new beginnings. Oh yeah, that would have been like January 1st, 2019. And that was legit. That would have been January 2019. Crazy. That probably is one of the last times I had a clean shaven face. And it was to symbolize new beginnings. I really love, guys, for me, if you haven't noticed, certain things are a great way to give yourself cues, whether those be physical or mental cues. Recently, Adam Martin was laughing at me because I've taken a piece of painter's tape, so the green tape, and put it on my door handle leaving my bedroom. And now the reason that I put green painter's tape on the door handle of my bedroom is that every time I go to leave the room, I want to challenge myself. Is there a reason I'm actually leaving the room? Or am I just leaving the room for the sake of leaving the room? Because far too often, I think a lot of us, again, just fall into those pattern interrupts where all of a sudden you just leave your room for the sake of leaving your room. Now you're standing in front of the fridge and you're like, was there a reason I'm even here? And so one of the ways I like to really challenge myself is through some of those physical cues. And one of the best ways is changing your physical appearance. So whether that's a shaving, a new hairstyle, a new wardrobe. For me, I really love the physical cues of these little bracelet things. I know people find them really cheesy and stuff. I don't give a fuck. For me, it's very valuable. Just keep cognizant of what's important to me. So I've got Stefan Arnio's Respect the Grind. I can remember Arnio gave me this one personally, specifically when I agreed to be his cameraman. He just took it off and gave it to me, and I was like, oh, that's cool. We've got our Problems of Profit, so that's my brand, and that's really like our entire philosophy here. And then we've got Cashflow Tribe, which is the newest edition. Can't see it quite as well, but yeah, just constantly love those physical cues to keep my goals and visions top of mind. Let's see what else is going on here. Your beard isn't your identity, but it's become part of your brand. Brand can change though. Absolutely, David Shapiro. Matt, you need a lineup man. Etobicoke bound? Yeah, I'd be down. Etobicoke doesn't sound very fancy though. I'd rather something like on the Burlington waterfront, Austin. I mean, if we just got to be in the middle of Etobicoke, so be it. But there's actually some this isn't West Side Toronto, I know, but like there's one estate looking motherfucking mansion that goes for about, I think, 10 grand a month in Markham that we've been eyeballing. So, I mean, if nothing else, we can probably just use it for rap videos. So we can get our boy Humble down and just shoot a series of rap videos in that house. Hey Matt, any suggestions for cash flow positive tenanted Liberty Village condo owner? No. I'm not sure whether you're saying that you're looking for a cash flowing property in Liberty Village or whether you currently got one. I also don't know where Liberty Village is, but I assume it's a trendy place in Toronto. It sounds like it would be. So like if you're cash flowing with a condo, that's amazing. The one thing I will challenge, I do sometimes find condo owners saying that they're cash flowing, but once we pick away at the numbers a little bit more, we find that it's maybe not quite the case. So if you're actually cash flowing and you're accounting for like repairs and maintenance and all those costs, then that's amazing. If that fits your business model, I would just really focus on doubling down on it. Yeah. Again, sometimes people want to compare their investment strategies or their goals with mine, and I don't think that you're well served to do so unless you literally want to become me. So unless you want to become 35 years old, smoking weed in your bathtub on a Monday night, living in a house with all your employees, you don't necessarily have to exactly compare every aspect of your life to mine. If you want that lifestyle, then you probably shouldn't compare every aspect to mine because this would be a great roadmap to get here. But again, the reason that we're transitioning or I'm transitioning into buying larger apartment buildings is multifaceted. It's not just for one purpose. So you can still make just as good or maybe even better cash flow in those smaller multifamily properties, but it maybe takes a more nuanced or a more focused approach to management than say owning purpose-built apartment buildings. As well, just straight up, people on social media and YouTube and networking events, they have this fascination with large purpose-built buildings and discount small multifamilies. So from a humble brag standpoint, the internet, thank you internet, especially you YouTube, have taught me how much people love Casey Wong because he owns purpose-built apartment buildings. I'm like, okay, let's experiment with that. I think that both investment strategies have a lot of validity and can be implemented successfully. I think it's really just up to your personal goals as an investor. And so the exit strategy on large multifamilies often will look different than say the exit strategy on small multifamilies. A small multifamily, you're likely going to either sell the whole portfolio to one investor, which is less likely, or you're going to piecemeal it off. Now, when you piecemeal it off, you can often get the highest total gross value from that strategy, which again, if that's your goal, is great. Whereas with the apartment buildings, you've got different types of exit strategies, such as you can maybe launch a REIT or a reverse takeover a REIT or sell to a REIT. And there's certain headlines or aspects to that can be really valuable, again, depending upon what your long-term goals are. Let's see what's going on here in the comments. Hey Matt, what style of house do you look for when buying? What requirements, numbers of bedrooms? So again, for me, we're not really buying a lot of houses per se. So We're now mainly buying apartment buildings here in London, Ontario. Some of our basic buying criteria would be if I can get it for less than 110,000 a unit, you've got my attention. I'm probably interested in it, at least in theory. If it can meet or exceed the 1% rule, again, that's going to be quite attractive to me as an investor. Beyond that, I did not attend UW. I went to University of Guelph, Humber, which is, no one's ever heard of it. It's okay. But so in London, less than 110,000 a unit, hitting the 1% rule or being able to exceed that, those are some really easy rules of thumb that we'll use to filter opportunities. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't buy property that's more than 110,000 or property that doesn't meet or exceed the 1% rule. It just means that we're going to need to have a clear path towards that, because that's what's important to me in my investment strategy. Again, I get it, and I understand that there are investors out there that literally are just looking for a place to park their cash, and getting cash flow or a real return on investment isn't significant to them. All they're banking on is long-term appreciation. As long as you've thought through your business model and it fits your personal needs, that's all that matters. This is pretty cool though, 50 people concurrent on YouTube. That's a new high for us. Instagram, you're lagging. Usually you're beating out YouTube on the concurrence, just saying. All right. Matt, buy next to Drake. Where's Drake live in Toronto? Can you do $3 million? I'm not sure what that means. But again, we're not looking to buy. I just want to rent. Straight up, just like Grant Cardone talks about, I don't see the value in owning a mansion. I think it's a terrible investment. So the same reason I don't own this house and we rent it. It makes more financial sense. Same with the houses we're looking at, renting for like $5,000 or $10,000 a month. Oh my goodness, the cost to buy those things, ridiculous compared to the cost of renting them furnished. Working on a triplex in Toronto, think it needs to be staged, or will investors not give a shit? Each market's different. If you're selling to house hackers, if it's a principal residence play, then having it staged could be valuable. If it's going to be a vacant triplex, honestly, most investors I wouldn't think would care. They're just going to be excited that you've got a vacant triplex where they can go in and immediately get fair market rents for. So I wouldn't worry. First books you read about rental property investing. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was the gateway drug for me, guys. Ever since that, I've been hooked on the idea. What's YouTube saying? Cardone owns house through his using this business to himself. I don't know enough about Hong Kong to talk about that, so I don't know. So yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's the gateway drug to real estate investing. One book that I think gets overlooked is, I recently recommended it to someone and they really liked it. The Millionaire Fastlane. J.D. DeMarco maybe might be the author. I might have made that up. But Millionaire Fastlane is actually a really good book too. I need to go back and reread it because I just remember liking it, and then I referenced it to someone and they're like, "Oh my god, this book changed my life." And I was like, "It was good, wasn't it?" I don't remember what it was really about other than it was good. I need to double back. Lots of mansions on the lake here in Sarnia. Good to know, Tish. Maybe we'll take a hard pivot. Not sure about that Sarnia International Airport though. That might be a drawback. But hey, maybe we just won't travel in the future. Matt, say goodbye to your frugality in Toronto. Yeah, Austin. It'll be a different page in my life that I'll be turning, but I think it'll be worthwhile. Now, what's the average price per door in London these days? I think it's becoming a greater range than it ever has before. I would say anywhere from low hundreds to mid hundreds is kind of the going rate per door. I think the last big apartment building trade hands was on South Street, and it sold for like $146 a unit, and those were one bids. I think that was an exceptional sale. but that happened like right after quarantine and social distancing and stuff like that. So I'm not sure, but I definitely think that anything in the low 100s these days is a pretty good price. All other things being equal. What were the first best books you read about rental property? Oh, we just did that. Thanks, guys. Markham, just because that's where the house happens to be. There seems to be a lot of nice mansions in Markham that are available for rent. But I'd rather be closer to the west side. Do you think there are any advantages to getting your real estate license? I think there are. I think there's disadvantages as well. I think you should only become a realtor if you really want to become a realtor. I think if you're becoming a realtor just because you're an investor, I don't think that you'll enjoy it long term. I think if you enjoy the idea of helping other investors get deals and you also want to be an investor yourself, I think that being a realtor can make a lot of sense. Okay, someone's very heated about Hong Kong. Again, I've got no knowledge, so I'm not going to wade into muddy waters. Yo, Matt, if you want by the water, check out Port Union. There are mansions with waterfront views, and it's right by the GO train. So like 30 minutes, GO train to Union Station. All right, cool. We'll check out Port Union. Do you pull a title on a property after getting under contract or before? So if you mean pull title as in find out who the owner is, we'll usually, we'll usually do it before. And so what that means, at least in our market, is pull the geo warehouse. Now understand, if you're in the US, the closing process on a property is different. So you gotta take that into consideration. Yeah, we would consider Oakville to move there as well. Super dope park and hiking area. Yeah. One of the things that would be good for us, MG DeMarco. Okay, I mixed up his initials, I think, there. But anyways, one thing that would be nice is not a lot of neighbors. Because we're kind of an odd bunch. We're based in London, Ontario right now, though. Is there a way to find out town landlords specifically in the city? I figured, but not with a shot. I found out of town landlords are more likely to sell a property than local landlords. Yeah, as far as trying to find out of town landlords, I think your best source is probably trying to reach out to property management companies, right? And find out if there's a way to get their list. Low pro tip, if you reach out to really shady property management companies, they might sell you their customer list, and you might be able to hit up their customer list. Other property managers I've turned into bird dogs and just said, hey, if you'll just ask any of your current customers if they want to sell, and they say yes, and I end up buying it, I'll pay you $1,000. And I'll keep you on at least for 1 year as the manager of the property. I found some of that to be an interesting approach to incentivizing like a win-win for me and the property manager. So food for thought there. Flipping or cash flow. I think both are great strategies. If you're focused on quitting your job as fast as possible, active income, so flipping would be the better choice. If you're focused on, building up long-term wealth and legacy empire shit, then I think cash flow makes a lot of sense. In general, for the average person, I'm going to encourage you to actually build up active income first and then transition to passive. It's a little counter to what I would have taught 10 plus years ago. But again, just with time and perspective, I realized the value in compressing time. And so if you can build up active income first, I think most people will find it easier to transition than to passive than to do it vice versa. Just because build up your passive portfolio, unless you can execute on, say, like perfect BRRRRs or find unlimited capital, especially at the start, you're just going to have a lot of limiting beliefs and struggle to break through them, where if you can execute on a few flips, build up a bit of a cash reserve and kind of just build your confidence that way by doing a few transactions in a relatively short period of time, then I think you're more likely to double down and go all in. And realistically, it's just, here's the worst part about life, but also the best part about life. It's honestly just the people that never quit that win. So for most of us, if we get a few either lucky or deserved wins at the start, we take that feedback loop and perceive a pattern, whether correct or not, and we double down on it. The same way that there's both anecdotal and confirmed stories of someone receives the wrong SAT score, and because they received the wrong SAT score and they thought that they were actually a genius, they started acting like a genius and started trying in school, and they ended up actually becoming smart and so on and so forth. That legit is so much of life. So honestly, for most of you, you just need to find a way to trick yourself into doing your first couple of deals. It's going to be scary no matter what. You may or may not make money, but if you just look at getting in and out of those deals as a success in and of itself, you'll probably build enough momentum that you will become successful, even if you weren't at the start. Is there ever a fight in your mention? I feel like that must be an autocorrect. Matt, stoked to get on Cashflow Tribe. Nice, man. Yeah. Really glad that you guys all crushed it at Project Mayhem. You guys blew us away. Matt, why not go for commercial office and rent a normal house rather than the mansion play, but the mansion culture is dope? Yeah, I think that you got it there at the end. It's the culture to me. And so that culture is really difficult to replicate. So there's something that really dynamically or organically happens when you live and work in the same space with other like-minded individuals. Just that concept of iron sharpening iron happens so much faster, and it just compresses time. So if you can bump into each other in the hallway, if you can have a discussion in the kitchen or the living room, just think about those times you may not have got that exposure and how much faster you're able to compress time. So that is really the key to the mansion culture, in my opinion. So for us, it's just about getting a much bigger space. I wouldn't be opposed to a commercial / residential space that had maybe a little bit more of a personal definition. Again, in a perfect world, I'd love to get a huge place that's got like a wing, and I can live in one wing, and the guys can be in another one. But again, I don't need anything that fancy. So if we stumbled into the perfect opportunity, sweet. If we don't, we'll just roll with whatever we get. But it definitely is time to move regardless. Are you looking for money partners? I think every investor is always looking for money partners. Obviously, I don't directly solicit from the public because that would get me in trouble. But if you're an accredited investor and interested in potentially doing some deals, feel free to DM me. Yeah, if a property or a deal doesn't provide cash flow on a reasonable timeline, I'm personally not going to be interested in it. I don't want to buy something that costs me money. Again, that's probably like deep seated in my Rich Dad Poor Dad pedigree, because that was one of the first books that really opened my eyes. But the idea of something that costs me money every month just isn't attractive. So that's why I want cash flowing rental properties. And at the same time, I believe you can get cash flowing rental properties that still have a above average opportunity to appreciate, right? If we look at the migration population trends for Southwestern Ontario in cities like London through 2040, it looks very promising. So I think that there's opportunities to both get cash flow today and still benefit from that appreciation long term. I see someone saying it depends on the market and your plan with money. Absolutely. What's going on here? Cool, just people talking about their deals. Hey Matt, currently holding a Toronto condo, cash flow positive, but looking to take any suggestions. I think like my number one suggestion for every investor is get clarity on what your goals are. I know that no one ever likes me when I give that answer, but it's legit the right answer. Get clarity on your goals, because then it becomes very clear how to reverse engineer your success, and then you can just ruthlessly execute. And way too often, everyone's caught up in like, what should the next step look like, rather than just knowing with certainty what the next step looks like. If you know with certainty what the next step looks like, you can just move with speed and execute fast. So if you have clarity on your goals, that's where it gets easy. It's not actually like having a certain level of knowledge or skill where things get easy. I think it's honestly just having clarity and vision where you can move with speed. I know you've got some type of accounting related background. Do you have an accounting degree or BBA in accounting? Yeah, so I'm based here in Canada and I've got my CPA license. And yeah, that's, yeah, and then I'm trying to think, I guess I got like a university, I went to a weird school, so I got a university degree and a college, university degree and college diploma in 4 years. And I think it was probably like a bachelor in business administration with a specialization in accounting. I don't know if any of that matters. And in Canada, what it really just matters is get the right credits to be able to get your CPA license. And that's going to be kind of your ticket into the white collar accounting scene. Do you like Chatham and Windsor market? What's your outlook on it? Yeah, I think Chatham is a good market. I think Windsor's a good market as well. I think, again, you should always do your own due diligence, look at the population, immigration trends, and da. But I think overall, Chatham's priced at a point that's so low that if you look at what minimum wage is in this province, that the affordability is there for individuals to almost be able to buy a property at that price point, right? Like if minimum wage is $15 an hour and you're working 2,000 hours a year, which is considered a full-time job, that's $30,000 a year in income. If Stats Canada says the average person spends 30-40% of their income on shelter, that means you can spend like $10,000-$12,000 a year on your shelter. All of a sudden, like 2 minimum wage earners are making $60,000 a year. And if you can buy a house for 100 and change in Chatham, it seems like affordability is there, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't inherently make it a good market. You also got to look at things like employment and things of that nature, and just even what general vacancy rates are. But that's, all different factors you need to take into consideration. What's in Chatham? So I believe 2 of the larger employers are CPP, so the Canadian Pension Plan, which overall I like that as an employer. And then you had Union Gas, which is now OnBridge. So again, those are 2 of the larger employers in that market. In Windsor, you've got the Bridge project, right? So I think that's going to Bridges project, which is going to drive employment. It's at naturally the largest border crossing here between Canada and the US. The US is a major trading partner of ours. Who knows where the world goes in the future with travel and imports and things of that nature, but I suspect either way, Canada and the US stay strong trade partners for the foreseeable future. So, being on that major border crossing is important. We also are seeing a lot of companies now kind of looking to potentially have like headquarters in cities that border Canada and US, right? It's just a way to kind of consolidate your offices and things of that nature. Well, that was pre-COVID, who knows? Maybe everyone just does it on Zoom now. But certainly things like that I think can also be attractive. And when you look at where the Canadian population is in general, it's really within a tight band that's close to the US-Canadian border, right? And Windsor, again, fits within all those kind of criteria. So for a multitude of reasons, I am bullish on Windsor and Chatham. Also, 401 is the busiest highway corridor in North America. So, I think there's a lot of good things to like about it, but that also doesn't mean that every purchase there is inherently a good purchase. You could still buy in Chatham and Windsor and lose a buttload of money if you buy wrong. Number 1 rule is just don't let your emotions get involved when looking at investing. The 1% rule simply is that the gross rents of a rental property should equal 1% of the purchase price on a monthly basis. So if I'm buying a house for $100,000, I should rent it out for $1,000 a month. When you run your numbers on deals, you use 5% vacancy, 5% repairs and maintenance, and 5% property management when analyzing deals. Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, with Cashflow Tribe, which is my one education company, every Monday night I do live deal analysis. So actually from 7:30 to like 8:45 tonight, I was doing live deal analysis. And the rules of thumb I recommend for everyone on Cashflow Tribe is 10% property management. Now I know that's a little bit higher, but included in that property management, I like to consider 1% for snow removal, 1% for lawn maintenance, and 8% for property management. And then I do 5% repairs and maintenance on average, and 5% vacancy and bad debt. So 20% overall of gross rents is kind of the placeholder I like to use when initially analyzing an opportunity. Now, obviously, if you're in a very specific market where it's got different local customs or vacancy rates or things of that nature, you need to adjust. But here in London, Ontario, or Southwestern Ontario, we're rocking like a 2% vacancy rate. So when I put 5% for vacancy and bad debt, that doesn't feel overall incorrect or, being too bullish. Have I considered Buffalo? To be honest, guys, I haven't really considered any markets outside of Southwestern Ontario just because I can make money here. So if I can make money here, why wouldn't I just keep making money here? And I get it. I know that other guys go and make better profit margins in other markets. Good on them. I just don't know what my competitive advantage would be moving into those other markets. And building up a competitive advantage is kind of a pain in the ass. So I just kind of lazy, just sticking to the market where I have at least my own perception of a competitive advantage and just focused on dominating it there. But again, you guys are welcome to go abroad and invest wherever you like. I think the key is finding a competitive advantage. And if you don't have a competitive advantage, just understand then that you're hoping on probably the greater fool theory to bail you out. And don't get me wrong, the greater fool theory works for a lot of people a lot of the time. So it's one of those things where condo investing in Toronto, I don't like it. It doesn't make sense to me. I know it gets people worked up when I say that. Cool. I just it feels too much like the greater fool theory to me because I'm not in enough control. But that doesn't mean that a lot of people don't make a lot of money doing it for an extended period of time. The market can afford to be irrational a lot longer than we can afford to be right. That's something I've learned time and time again with the stock market. And again, that's why I don't like things I can't control these days. So I'd rather just focus on things where I have direct influence over the asset. And stock market, unfortunately, I'm just not rich enough to have significant influence in any publicly traded company. In terms of consumption preferences, what is your choice of getting high? Good question. Circling back to weed. For me, I don't really have a preference because I don't feel like I live in a system where I truly know what indicas are and what sativas are and what the different THC levels mean. I know technically the weed we get these days have labels and stuff, but none of it seems that terribly accurate. So I'm much more happenstance. It's just go buy something that claims to have a relatively high THC, cross my fingers that it's the appropriate level of potent, and smoke away. Any large buildings up for sale in London right now on MLS or off market? Yeah, there's always buildings for sale. My understanding, there's always buildings for sale. We're our boy Jeff Weibel is making multi-million-dollar offers every single week this year for our one apartment buying business. So again, there are apartments for sale on the MLS. Usually by the time a property gets to the MLS, it's priced pretty high, especially in the apartment world. So the vast majority of the properties we buy these days will be off market, pocket listings, private deals. And that's where being relationship oriented is so important when it comes to real estate investing, especially if you're kind of leveling up or trying to move up the totem pole in the asset class you're investing in. So Yeah. Guys, well, thanks for doing the stream. Awesome, appreciate the love. Will you ever shave off the beard, or does it stay forever? John, we were literally just talking about that earlier, and I was saying that I like it, but I also feel like I'm a little bit too attached to it, so I kind of want to get rid of it just to challenge myself. Guac or queso? Guac. Bless the devil salad. Okay. Hey Matt, would you recommend young investors to take advantage of the first-time buyers 5% down while it's still available? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it really depends upon your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, like all my answers these days. But specifically what I would say is, I think putting 5% down if you're going to buy a nice turnkey rental property and house hack it can be a great approach for a young or first-time investor. At the same time, I think there's a lot of advantage in buying a fourplex and putting 10% down. In fact, I would probably encourage that more so. Put down 10% on a fourplex and house hack it. In a perfect world, house hack it and take on a roommate. I know it's asking a lot for some people, but honestly, if you can find a way to live for free, you just got it made. You're pretty much already set. You're pretty much already lean fire. And most people, if they were to live in a fourplex and live with a roommate and they own that fourplex, in like London and Windsor, even in like Kitchener or Guelph or Brantford or Hamilton, St. Catharines, I assume in Durham, I'm not positive, you could literally live for free. And if you can live for free, like you're just set. And your bare needs then are so low that like one more rental property that cash flows, you're literally lean fire in my opinion, especially if you live in Canada. So if you can get that financial fortress of solitude out of the way as fast as possible, I think you're just in such a great place to embrace life and really do it on your terms, whatever that means to you. I just completed the perfect BRRRR. Awesome, man. Awesome, Brian. Yeah, it looks like you just need to start attracting capital. Yep, there's that Warncliffe property being rented out as low-income housing through the City of London. I think I know the one you're talking about. I think we've looked at it in the past. It's the old motel, right? How can you finance a renovation as a newbie investor? Credit card, lines of credit, borrowing hard money. You could cross-collateralize with other real estate that you own. You could use, obviously, other people's credit, other people's lines of credit, things of that nature. Yeah, so for the motel that's being used for low-income housing in London, is what it is. You know, I think you just need a certain type of manager in place in order for that sort of property to go well. I think the vast majority of people are going to fail at the management of it. I'm speaking from some experience, and just be aware of that. Go eyes wide open if you're going to really focus on low-income housing or affordable housing. That's not to say that it can't be a profitable endeavor, because it absolutely can. But I think a lot of less experienced investors get into it thinking it's going to be easy and find themselves in an unfortunate situation. What sort of vehicle do I drive? Nothing fancy. Nothing fancy at all. Just I wouldn't even know. I always forget what it is. Like a little SUV thing. Cross utility vehicle. That'd be one of those small things. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's almost been an hour. Instagram will kick us off soon. Really cool that almost 50 of you hung out with us for most of the night on YouTube. Awesome. Not knocking the 40 of you that hung out here on Instagram. I mean, I think that's like 90 people, assuming that a bunch of you aren't watching me on two platforms at once, which That's kind of cool that we can just smoke weed together and hang out. Would you lease month to month right now compared to long term because it's easier to evict in short term? I don't know if it's easier to evict in the short term. So I would just double check any of your facts when assuming that it's easy to evict anything right now in Ontario. I found your YouTube last year and I think your content is pretty inspiring. Thank you, appreciate that. Thanks guys, appreciate the love. What's going on here, YouTube? Quickly check your comments. I like owning the property management. So someone was asking, do I use an internal property manager or an external property manager? I like owning internal if you've got a big enough scale to do so. At the end of the day, no one's going to care more about your money than anyone else, than yourself. But the next best person is going to be an employee, someone that works for you. A external contractor just rarely is going to care as much. Now, that's not to say that there's not exceptions, and there always is. But certainly, if we're just talking about general rules of thumb, I think that you're likely going to better service if you in-house your property management. But that does take a certain level of scale, right? Which isn't necessarily practical for everyone. Awesome, appreciate the love, guys. Our price is going to come down a lot. You know, my crystal ball is just as foggy as everyone else's, but in general, I don't think, I think barring other market influences right now, it's unlikely we're going to see a significant correction, just because I think the world governments are so focused on trying to stop that, but you never know. So anything's possible. Certainly 2020 should have taught us that by now. I think the bigger thing is, rather than focusing on our price is going to go up, down, or sideways, is am I investing on fundamentals? Am I investing on data? Or am I investing on emotions or speculation? If you think that you're investing on emotion or speculation, then you need to spend more time studying, focusing on the data, dropping the drama. And if you're focusing on data, if you're investing for fundamentals, if it's a property that cash flows now that you have no reason to think it won't cash flow in the future because, you know, all the statistics point favorably to the future of that market or that demographic, you know, it's time in the market, not time in the market. Far too often people think that they have to time the market perfectly, and it's much more important just to be in the game and be in the game for the long term. But if you're cash flowing, it's a lot easier to stay in the game long term. All right. When will be the next Cashflow Tribe in-person session for new and seasoned investors to meet up? Hey Ron, your bet's as good as mine right now. Right now, you can't really even meet up still in large groups, to the best of my knowledge. So everything's kind of day by day. All right, Instagram's going to kick us off in 2 minutes. Biggest mistake or lesson learned in this business? Biggest mistake or lesson learned? I'll give you an abstract one first, which is there are no silver bullets. And legit, everyone comes at me these days wanting a silver bullet, thinking that there's some trick or magic to it. It's honestly just hard work and consistent action that pays off. I know that's not what most people want though when they ask me like biggest lesson. So I think one of the biggest lessons is really challenge the reality that you live in. So way too often we have these limiting beliefs that money is hard to find or that financing deals is hard. Financing bad deals is hard. If you've got a really good deal, it is easy to get money for it. And honestly, even myself, if I ever struggle to get money on a deal, then it's because it's not a real deal. If it was a real deal, if there was a real profit opportunity, if it was going to be easy to make money off of it, I'd be easily able to attract money to it. So that to me is one of the biggest lessons, is that there's a lot of opportunity out there. Biggest loss in terms of money, there isn't anything that big, to be honest. There's nothing real clickbaity worthwhile to talk about. So my biggest losses are like lost opportunities, to be honest. Businesses that maybe didn't pan out the way I thought, or deals that I got cold feet on and walked away from rather than that. My drinking game is every time he says buy, profit, or money, drink. That's funny. All right, Instagram just kicked me off, guys. Appreciate you still hanging out with me on YouTube. And we're going to wrap up now, though. So thank you, guys. Have a good night, and stay safe. Don't get infected. I'll see you on the next video.